Welcome to the third panel of 30 Days, 30 Ways UK. Today we are joined by Annie Bailey from Northamptonshire, West Northamptonshire Council. Welcome, Annie. Thank you for joining us. And we're also joined by Leslie Speedy, who I know your background's military, and then you currently work at South Lanarkshire Council, but you chair the can you, oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, so the Blackburn Kittenhill Resilience Group is just a little, third sector community group who set up during the pandemic. So we just kept it running, really.
That's brilliant, and it'd be great to hear about what you've been doing as well. Apologies for the name. The names have switched. There's two Annies on my screen, but you're Leslie Speedy, and yeah, you chair your local community resilience group. So welcome, yep. Leslie. Thank you for joining us today. Just a bit of a recap. Last week we spoke about understanding risk, and we were joined by the fire service colleagues and the Environment Agency about flood risk, and we talked about the Met Office flood weather warnings that you can get, and you can tune into that webinar on our YouTube account. This week is all about making a plan and putting all those together about what we can do individually within our own communities. So Annie, before we come on to you, Leslie, and talk about what you have been doing, Annie, what are the things that people can do individually in their homes and coming together as a community as well?
Yeah, so in the council we have a range of templates on our website. So we do have a household emergency plan template, which basically promotes the idea of you putting all of your important contact information into one space. So whether that's your utility companies, insurance companies, but also friends and family, and kind of agreeing where you might meet if a major incident did happen in the area. It's basically a really handy booklet that you have, just so that if you are forced to evacuate or the power goes out, you have all of that critical information to hand, and it can relieve some of that added stress that you would be trying to find out where everything is. And then we do also have a community emergency plan template, which is basically the same thing but at a community level. It does more promote finding out what resources you have as a community. So as a parish or a town council, what kind of resources could you hope that you can use during an emergency? Perhaps sort out some kind of relationship with businesses where you may be able to use them and their equipment if needed. So they're the two main things I would say for communities and individual households.
Thanks, Annie. It's so important, isn't it? I mean, I know when we go back the last couple of years, communities really rallied round to look after one another when people couldn't go out to shop, when they had COVID, like I have at the moment. But it's so much is changed, and people came forward, people forming their own groups. Leslie, can you say, how did you form your group? Did you get any support from your local council, and what did you put a plan together? And obviously it's still going. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so what we done is we set up we just based it on the fundamentals of emergency management. So we set up a community call centre, and we had three teams of volunteers. So we had the call centre team, so they would be the communication and control. Then we had what we called it the runners, so they were the guys who'd run back and forth to the shops and the chemist and all that stuff. And then we had what we called the outreach team. So the first two teams to set up was the call centre team and the runners, and that was just to get up for the first 2 weeks in the lockdown and to keep social distancing. Somebody would phone into the call centre, say that they need their shopping or they need X, Y, and Z. We would log it. We kept log diaries for the response. They would log it. They'd call up the volunteers who are down that day to do the running, and you would dispatch a volunteer with the instructions for that individual. And then that would go in their little response log. So that kept almost like an audit trail, an accountability trail. And then what happened, once we settled down into that, we got an idea of our numbers, an idea of the calls. We then set up the Call With Outreach team, and that was all about mental health during isolation. And it was that old cliche, good response, good recovery. So we wanted to get our recovery strategy in as early as possible. And that was all about mental health for anybody in the family. So we did things like coffee and chat down the phone, or coffee and cake down the phone. So we had little teams who were just there to talk to people down the phone, we have a coffee. We did children's outreach. So we developed tasks where the kids and families could work at home. So it was like recycle garden challenges, community signs for littering. So when they came out of lockdown, all their signs were all around the village. We did bingo night. I think everybody was doing bingo nights on Facebook, quiz nights. Just also anything we could throw at it. We just done it for a laugh and just got the community together. And you know, we came out of that response a much stronger community, and they're still talking about it to that day.
That's brilliant. And that is what community resilience is all about. Can I ask what size is it a town, or is it?
It's a small mining village, so the population of 4,000, so like 2,500 houses, and then there's a couple of little other surrounding areas who join into that as well. So maybe in total 3,000 houses.
That's brilliant. And do you still have like the network of people now? I mean, because the way we're talking, I mean, COVID is still with us, obviously. But you know, for any other emergency that might happen to your village.
Yeah, so we kept the network going, and what we've done there is part of this whole is just about, like, you know, having a good recovery plan. It's also that, like, then how do you then move forward with all that community togetherness? So we've basically now developed a long-term community development proposal to now build resilience, yeah. And that's looking at reinstating our old football field, which just gets sentimental value to people in the village. And we're going to have like a little community garden and stuff there. So that's all about getting people out, interacting more, and capitalising on that to community togetherness. Yeah. And a lot of the volunteers who helped us during the pandemic still want to be part of that process and that journey.
That's brilliant. And I think the whole thing is, I mean, I know we from myself and Annie being emergency planners, we're all about if an emergency happens, but it is bringing that community together anyway, that good neighbourly nurse, and you can do so much more. And I know communities that we've worked with, they raise funds to do the defibs, you know, in the boxes, and they make the sort of village much better place. And your story is such a nice one, Leslie, and that's still going ahead. That's brilliant. And so I mean, we've got templates. Have you sort of got a physical plan that you can call on?
Yeah, so we've still got the numbers for the COVID. So, and one of the things, we've actually got a meeting tonight. We've got a meeting at 7 p.m. tonight with other movers and shakers in the community. And we just got to have a bit of we call it brainstorming exercise to have a look at the energy crisis and different ways the community can help each other. And again, we'll say, well, let's get the old diaries back out, let's get the phones back out, and let's go for it again. Yeah. So once you've got that model, you know.
Sorry, carry on.
I was going to say, like, the biggest thing in any emergency is getting that communication strategy for the beginning. So if you can get your comms right, everything else will fall into place. So
it's getting that message out to everybody, and perhaps the most vulnerable people within your community, how to get hold of them, how can you get neighbours to help them if they need, you know, especially, you know, help getting out their homes. So
that one, so what we done, what we call it our COVID community comms strategy, was every couple of weeks, and it was hard work, we actually put a leaflet, a newsletter through everybody's door. So we got fit doing it. And that'll be the plan again, is if there's an energy crisis, it'll be a case of, like, let's get all our leaflets redistributed, and let's just get everybody in the village to come out. We'll do a big leaflet drop, you know, and you'll be surprised, you know, 3,000 homes, you can do that in a couple of nights if everybody comes out and just does their street. And then everybody's got the information. Here's how we're going to respond. Here's what we're going to do. Yeah,
and make sure people know who to ring. I know during COVID in Northamptonshire, we delivered leaflets to every single person within Northamptonshire with a number of our call centre, and we had volunteers come forward to do that, which was absolutely brilliant. We all had pink high vis vests, and they got called the Pink Army, which was brilliant.
Good, it's brilliant.
But yeah, so it's trying to capture all of that and put it into a plan, because communities have so much resources within them, and also groups that already meet. I mean, I know we've got the WI, we've got neighbourhood watch groups. It's just trying to bring all those together
Yep.
within your plan, so you know who you can talk to through, we've got Neighbourhood Watch, they have Neighbourhood Alert. I'm not too sure whether that's still relevant in Scotland, but
I'm not too sure.
Yeah, so Neighbourhood Alert, they can, it's thousands of people within Northamptonshire and, well, the UK, probably, hundreds of thousands of a network that they can actually get the message out to all the sort of Neighbourhood Watch schemes. WY, they're still going, and all the other sort of organisation, mums and tots groups, get them involved within your community. The other, the household emergency plan, and we will move on to Prepared Kids tomorrow. And it's trying to sort of get the children involved, and it looks like, Leslie, you got them involved within COVID with doing all this stuff that you had it up there. But kids will take part and in things, and get them involved in helping write your emergency plan. If you were all if your street was had an incident and you could go back to your home and the kids are at school, where would, knowing where you'd each go, who would you ring?
Yeah.
And you've been doing some work on schools, haven't you? Do you want to explain a bit about that, what you're doing with schools?
Yeah, so I'm trying to go into all secondary schools across West Northamptonshire to promote having a grab bag. So I want to do a really interactive class activity with Year 8 pupils where, they have all of the equipment out in front of them. And I give them a scenario and they go and grab the water bottles and the blankets and put it inside their bag. And then at the end, kind of talk through their reason as to why they put that in the bag. Why do you think that would be a good thing to have? Just so maybe they might go home and start a conversation with their parents, and then of course give them a leaflet at the end with, where they can find more information, where they can get a household plan. So hopefully we can start to get kids thinking about these types of things and maybe push that onto their parents as well. And all houses in Northamptonshire can have a grab bag.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Kids always go home to say, "Mummy, look what I've got." You have to fill it in. And
that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Get through the kids and you'll get to the parents.
Yeah. And even if they're like, if the mums and dads' first language isn't English, the kids will take that home and tell them about it, which is a good way. Last week we had the fire service colleague talking about fire escapes, and they get the kids to do their own fire escapes, so they know how to leave their homes. One of the theme today for 30 Days 30 Ways UK is all about offline entertainment. So if we had to evacuate, or if the power went off, you need to entertain, especially the kids. You need to entertain them when the lights off, because their gadgets aren't going to work, the tellies are going to go off. And I must admit, in my household, we love a game of which can get quite competitive. I don't know, what are your favourite offline entertainment things? What would you do? Leslie, come to you first. I'll put you on the spot.
I think for me it'd be kicking about a football. Don't know if I could do that inside a community centre or not, so I might have to revert to like an old word search, I think.
Yes. That's good. Annie, what would yours be?
So for me, that would definitely be my Sudoku book. That would be coming with me. I know for my partner, he would not leave the house without his huge power bank and his tablet with all of the downloaded things on already, so that'd last him about a day, I reckon. That's a huge thing.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, power banks are good. So obviously there's quite a lot of things that you can do around planning individually for yourself and also your community, where Annie said about the household plan. Leslie, you've mentioned about the community one, getting all those down. And there's if you look at outside your door, there is so many resources, doctors, nurses, firefighters in your communities that you can actually get together to help and support your community if you do get cut off. So be prepared, make a plan. And that's all about what this week was all about. So as we go into next week, it's all about preparedness checks. We are going to be looking at prepared pets on Sunday, looking after your animals, which is a great one. I like that day. And going into sort of medicine check, and then a bit about household preparedness. So we have got more household preparedness on days 20, 21 and 22 to join in. and we will join back as another panel next Friday to talk about those preparedness checks. But thank you so much, ladies, for joining me.
Thank you.